Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Hand this over to Chris.
Right. Thanks, Ethan. Couple things to go through tonight is we have gotten in the habit of doing the schedule update, which we'll give, going through the dashboard, talking about what's occurring and what's out there. Design updates, again, there's no presentation really tonight because the design team's busy wrapping up the packages for cost estimating and bidding, but I'll highlight where we are with planning and Concom and go through some of the dates there. Utility costs, we got some estimates in from both gas and electric. We'll be voting on the gas bill to release that so they can get their materials, and that's part of this summer's work. And go through the electric utility estimate. And then talk about communications forum, which we're scheduling for the 28th of April. We'll go through the agenda, the planned agenda for that. And then the vote items, the meeting minutes, the package, and again, the utility, so we can release that work. So with that, I'll go through the dashboard quickly. This was in the package, so I won't go through everything, but our snapshot on the first page, everything kind of remains in the green, meaning on track, budget, and the schedule primarily. The only issues that were noted last month and continued this month were the increase to the electric utility costs. Last month, we knew there'd be an increase. We didn't know how much, and I'll go through the breakdown of that with everyone. Design pre-construction activities. It was a busy month, actually. The design team was finishing up the documents for the 60% estimate that went out Monday, but we got on board the structural peer reviewer, the code peer reviewer. We've had several continuation public meetings with planning to get through that process. And we did coordination with the utilities to get those packages set. And then Mass Timber Design Assist was, those meetings continued, so a lot of progress made there, which is going to help on the cost estimating side of things. So the work plan, don't need to go through the detail. It's basically talking about the early release packages and the pre-qualification that we did for the trades, for the bidding that's occurring. There was a lot of interest, except for elevators, which we typically don't get a lot of interest, but someone always comes through with that. But everything else, good coverage, which bodes well for competition. Looking ahead, we're finalizing the bid packages for the early releases, which are going out tomorrow for bidding, and putting together early release package number 2 for trade pre-qualifications, and this is Miss Metals that will follow the other trades to get them on board sooner rather than later so they can coordinate the early work. Drawings are out with the structural peer reviewer and the code consultant. So again, as part of the permitting process, the code consultant will have comments that will get reviewed and responded to. And then finalizing the Mass Timber Design Assist.
Chris, I'm sorry to interrupt. Are you sharing your screen to Teams?
Let's see.
You might be. I just don't.
Might not be, but
Catherine Hobbs just jumped online.
great.
Hi, Catherine. There we go.
Sorry about that.
No.
CM Precon, we're on track with all of that work, and we'll be wrapping up in the next couple months, and that'll be shifted.
Chris, do you have your mic on? Because we can't hear anything.
The big red one. The big red one?
Can you hear?
Okay.
You hear now?
Yep, can hear you now. Thanks.
Great. Sorry about that. Going through just the dashboard that was sent in the package, so I'm trying to hit the highlights. No changes this month. Reimbursement, I know Chris Sweet's not here, but he's particularly interested. We did receive 3 reimbursements on the 5th, which is good. Those totaled $875,542. And we are in the process, we have it ready, we just need signatures for number 18, which will go in tomorrow or early next week. So we're keeping up with that process. Key community impacts, at this point, we're working through planning and Concom and anticipate within the next meetings or 2 to get through that process. That is the opportunity for public engagement. Accomplishments along those lines, Dora Whittier drafted a letter looking for waivers from zoning for a couple items, which is typical for school projects. That was in fact granted, so we can move forward with permitting with that in hand. It avoids having to go through an appeals process. And then, as I mentioned, the key upcoming owner event is this community forum being planned for the 28th of April. I think that's it. The images remain current from last time, and no schedule change. So I think with that, we can turn it over and go through some other updates and the design updates with this. Went through the agenda. So schedule status, 60% construction documents were issued for estimating, so they were issued Monday. Estimates are due back on the 10th, and reconciliation is scheduled for the 15th. So essentially by the next meeting, SBC meeting, we'll have 60% cost estimate information to share, and we kind of true up the budget at that point. Early release package number 1, which last month we mentioned, included a site work, the steel, concrete for the foundations, foundation waterproofing, and site electrical. Those bid documents are being issued on Friday. Bids due on the 16th. Scope review meetings happened on the 23rd and 27th of April. And then our schedule has us targeting the 14th of May to be able to release that work, for that's the June work that we want to tackle this summer before the return to school. Any questions, just let me know. And then, as I mentioned, the early release package number 2, which is miscellaneous metals, will go through the request for qualifications process first, get those evaluations done, and then get into bidding. So advertising on the 9th, issuing on the 23rd, and then looking for those qualifications back on the 14th for evaluations by the end of May. In terms of the design updates, planning board status, so just a kind of a record here of what's occurred. We had our first meeting on the 8th, which was a project overview. We had our first continuation hearing was held on the 5th of February, and that was really comments and review with the board itself. It was continued till the 5th of March, and that primarily focused on the stormwater peer reviewer, whose comments were received and addressed in that meeting. And then there's a meeting tonight following up with the traffic peer review comments that again were received and responded to and will be presented tonight. Concom, we had our first public hearing on the 20th. These have been continued out more not because of the design team or the project team, but more because of the design review has taken longer. And the next meeting is being held on the 31st, and we hope that that will be what we need to wrap up, because our goal is to get any feedback into the documents before awards are made so that we can minimize the cost impact of anything that might come up. But nothing significant has come up at this point. Any question on schedule or design updates?
Hey, Chris, where does the traffic meeting take place? Is that just a virtual meeting, the traffic peer review? Or is
It's
it a meeting or just?
Planning board. So the planning board does two separate, they have stormwater. They had a peer reviewer doing stormwater, separate peer reviewer doing traffic. And we've done the stormwater review.
Gotcha.
And then tonight's the traffic review. They've met separately, the designer and the peer reviewer have met to kind of go through it in preparation for tonight. So again, nothing of substance. Rob can chime in if he thinks differently, but most of it was details about some of the data and how they were using it to kind of, the goal is for the peer reviewers to write a letter to the planning and Concom that says, yes, we're in alignment with requirements. So I think we're very close to getting that.
Great, thank you.
It's been a good, open, public process. The planning board's been very deliberate about making sure that, the process is being done properly.
Chris, I think I agree with you on that, and I've been to every meeting, and I think importantly, and I think it's a sign that people are engaged, there has been public participation at every meeting that we've gone to. Carrie, you've been to some too, and I think that's good. And so the neighbors and other residents have come in and ask questions, voice their concerns to the planning board and Concom. And so I just think that's the nature of the process, but I think it's been pretty effective.
And it's a great opportunity for the design team to address misunderstandings that might be out there publicly, so that, and on record, so it's helpful. Next up is just a slide on the utility costs. So, our project budget, when it was originally established, had $800,000 in for utilities, kind of in general. Our current estimate is about $2.2 million, which is an increase about $1.4 million. That was significantly attributed to the North Attleboro Electric, which went from $635,000 to $2,069,000. And part of it had to do, as they got into it, they understood that the feed from the transmission feed, the cables that come off of Landry all the way back into the site near the tennis courts, need to be replaced. We had always understood we were picking up at that transformer and distributing, but they're taking this opportunity to replace those feeds. And that cable itself, the total cable cost is $720,000, so it's a big chunk of the work. And that serves the camp. I mean, it's old stuff that is outlived its usefulness, feeds the middle school and everything else on campus. The other small part that wasn't part of the original, but it is part of the final design, is a temporary feed, which we talked about last month, coming off Landry for the stadium. So while the electric work is going on, the stadium remains functional, and that was important. And there would have been cost in acceleration and other potential unforeseen conditions had we tried to not have that secondary feed for that period, so. Any questions on that? Go ahead.
Do you know if they would have to do that work without this project? Replacing the lines?
I don't know. I think it was one of those things where, the scope, the pathway and everything hadn't changed, but I think when they originally looked at it, it might not have risen to the level after, you kind of get a little bit more serious, but as things get a little bit more real, and then when they realized kind of everything that was going on, I think they made the decision that that was the right thing to do. I think the other thing that was going on there was that, some of the cost data points that they were using were somewhat old. So they went and, nothing's gotten, as everybody knows, nothing's gotten less expensive.
Yeah.
So I forget what exactly their kind of reference point was, but it was a few years back now. And I think like the cost of, those cables has gone up dramatically since, what they were using as the basis when they did that original estimate.
Brett, is this a case of we're responsible for the line from the street to the building? And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
and so the current assessment is that the cables that are there now are insufficient, outdated, and won't support what we're trying to do, and that's why they're triggering the replacement?
Along those lines, yeah.
Because technically it's town property then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also an opportunity. The capacity doesn't change, to answer your question necessarily, but they are old and outmoded, so there could be issues down the road if they weren't replaced.
Am I correct? And I think I am, and I'm asking this just for the record, but that they're supposedly charging us cost, their cost. They're not putting any kind of,
That's correct. Unlike Liberty Gas, which requires payment before they'll do anything, North Attleboro Electric has provided a very detailed estimate that was included in the package. And they're only gonna, at the end, be what their costs are, so any breaks, you'll realize.
This falls in line with like contingencies we have in place, right?
Yes. Good.
But not exactly, but,
And that's why I kind of, right now, we're kind of in between. We're going to have an estimate in a couple weeks, and we'll true up, because there were some allowances in some of the earlier that are, or budget, that are less now than they were then.
Okay.
So we would move money around
Gotcha.
kind of to cover that gap.
so the gap might be less.
Yeah, so there might be 2 or 3 sources to transfer money to fill
Gotcha.
particular. We will be doing this throughout the project, because, the budget, there'll be monies that get transferred from one to the other as we get through it. So it will be common. This is the first one and a big one.
Yeah.
But at our next kind of meeting, we'll have more definitive of how, the bottom line is the total project budget will stay
Right,
in line.
yeah.
I think I talked about this at some point. Embedded in kind of the estimates from day one, there's a thing that's basically called design and pricing contingency. And when you start off on the job, when you know very little about it, it's usually around 15%. And then as the design starts to evolve, that continues to shrink, and the idea is on bid day that will go down to 0. So this is something that, it's for as design evolves and things that you didn't see. We didn't see this one. I'm going to be honest, this one was a little bit unusual. So it's not something we would normally think would get absorbed by that, but, we got our fingers crossed, and we'll see what happens when we get the estimates back from 60%. But that's why we estimate along the way, so that if something goes out of whack, then we'll have to kind of retool and figure out how we get it back into whack. So we'll know here pretty soon. It was bigger than a bread box, for sure.
Any potential impact on the middle school?
No, well, there's gonna be a couple downtimes, for lots of different things, but we'll have to work on that and coordinate that. But the idea is to minimize that and do that when, kind of during a period of time when it's really not gonna be so impactful. There was some talk about kitchens and
We're all over that.
stuff
Yeah,
like
summer
that, so
schedule.
we're pretty on top of that.
As it relates to the electrical, our understanding is there are 2 feeds that come off of Landry, and they can work off one, the second one's the redundant, so that no interruption
Okay.
to get from an electrical standpoint.
And they're replacing both feeds then,
They'll do one at a time.
one at a time, but replacing both, okay.
Any more questions? There'll be more to come on this, but. And the next item really is just the community forum on April 28th, and the agenda for that really, it's been a while since we've been out, a lot's been happening, so there'll be a overview of where we are with the project timeline, budget, et cetera, to start. It's primarily going to be focused on the next item, which is construction, logistics, and timeline impact, so what people can expect over the summer and next year through the school year, so that we can kind of get that out there, answer questions that people might have. Athletics and campus use will be also part of it because, this will all be after graduation, but community use of the fields will be changed, obviously, as we take over the back area behind the current high school. And then just to explain that, that the use is being managed, we've been working with the athletic director to make sure that the seasons have places to be for both practice and games for the duration of construction. And then again, as we've done at every meeting, getting people to stay informed, setting up planned communications, and then the website updates, which right now are kind of generic about what we've been doing and where we're going. These will be much more specific about what's happening on a daily basis, so people can be referred there and get information, as well as the blasts that go out from the district. So that's the intent of it. We think it's good now to grab people before everyone takes off for the summer.
Chris, I'd also say too, on we want to have another community forum. It's sort of like the next one in our series. We did so many kind of leading up to the vote. So I think it's valuable for a lot of different reasons. I would also add things like athletics, drop-off, pick-up, that type of thing. There'll be a lot more of that information communicated using our normal channels, like the middle school and high school principals and back to school nights and communicate. So I just want to say, we're going to cover it because I think it's like a big enough topic that, it's interesting, and I think, but as far as like the super details related to that, that'll be handled at the school level. But I think it's the more we do, the better. Like the more we reach, more people we reach.
Yeah, and similarly, the specifics around the athletics typically gets communicated by the coaches and the AD. So this is really just, what are we going to do? And, the responsibility, it's been planned and it will be managed, and talk to your coaches and talk to the AD to get the specifics. So really just trying to assuage fears that people might have starting school next year.
But it's going to be a construction site.
Yep.
For at least 3 years, really. And so it's, people have to just be ready. It's TJ and I were talking about that yesterday, right? It's like, just expect that it's going to be different for the foreseeable future. It's going to be a great benefit, but it's going to be different.
And
Keep your eye on the prize.
Yeah, exactly.
well, that's the goal of this early start this summer, is to, there'll be a mix of traffic coming in the existing way, but once the new road is in, construction traffic will be to the west side of the site and separated from the school traffic. So we're hoping that that makes this less painful for everybody. Any questions on design updates?
Chris, that just, I think people may have seen it if they're part of our communication chains, but that flyer and the message went out to school families today, earlier today. And then the town, through Mike's office, will handle kind of the press release, newspapers, all that. So try to get the word out as much as we can.
Great.
Yep, thanks.
Thanks. So that's really all we had on the update side. We can go back to our agenda and a couple items requiring the vote. The first is to approve the meeting minutes that were again in the package from our last meeting on the 26th. So I don't know, Ethan, if you want to make a motion to.
Yeah, looking for a motion to approve the meeting minutes from 2/26/26.
Second?
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
1, 2,
So Catherine's online, though.
7, 8. Do we need?
Do we,
Yes, you would have to.
I think with
Just
a,
I can abstain because I wasn't at the last meeting.
yeah, okay, we have a quorum.
Yeah.
Thank you, Catherine. We have a quorum without you, but we appreciate that. So-
Yeah, I don't really want to do a roll
We'll go to
call.
roll calls, yeah, thanks.
Okay.
so before we
Not
do,
even, maybe just like don't cast a vote, yeah.
we had a motion, it was moved, who seconded? Do we have a second?
You made the motion, I seconded.
Okay, good. Great.
Then we'll look for a motion to approve the NAED Liberty Gas relocation fee payments.
One interim one,
Invoices.
which is the invoice package
Yeah, we'll do that first.
that was
and
distributed. I don't know if there are any questions on it. I have it up here.
No questions.
On it, the biggest is the design team who's finishing up the documents, so.
then- Any questions?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take this to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Great. And the last item we had is, and it's twofold, it's the kind of cost estimate from North Attleboro Electric, because once we say that we voted to approve it, and the other is the Liberty Gas payment for $61,195, and
Could we do those in two or just?
it was, the Liberty Gas invoice was in the VIP, so we've
Yeah.
covered it there. I think it's a motion to approve the utility estimates
works.
as presented.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Motion passes.
There's someone here from the public, do you want to see if she has anything to say?
I'm just here to find out, what's going on.
Okay, I just didn't know if you had a question, we didn't want to ignore you back there.
No,
Thank you.
just interested.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments before we adjourn?
Just a comment.
Yeah.
I think Brad said earlier, everybody at some point in the next 3 years is going to be inconvenienced. I just stressed the amount of patience that's going to be necessary and the understanding that it's going to be absolutely vital to making this a successful project. It won't be easy, there'll be hiccups, but again, Brian the prize, like we said.
I just think piggyback that off. If we over-communicate, I think it will ease people's things. Like if we're gonna block the entrance off and people know ahead, they can't be raging mad. But if we just you know, it's gonna happen once in a while, but like, the more we can communicate and tell people that this is gonna happen, at least, you know, from our standpoint, we'll be covered a little bit better, so just try to over-communicate with all the families and people around the area. We're still gonna get it, but. All right, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take this to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstention? Hearing none, we'll adjourn the meeting at 4:31. Thanks, everyone.